Welcome down to the 7th episode of the Boydens Prop-Cast. I've got a really special kind of episode up on today. We've got Nathan down with us.
Hi Philip.
He joins us from West Essex branch as the assistant manager here, and we're actually on site, aren't we, Nath, at a lovely property that you've actually got up for rent at the moment. Is that right?
We have indeed. We are currently in Housestead. We're at a lovely 5-bedroom house. It's kind of sat on the market at just under £3,000 per calendar month, but it's a lovely little location.
It is, yeah, and it's finished to a great spec as well, isn't it? It's lovely property. Obviously, you can see we're in a lovely big open plan kitchen dining space behind yourself, and we will be doing a video tour of this, which you guys can watch on YouTube or Instagram or wherever you may please. It will be sent out this week, so let's take a look at that. It's also up for sale, isn't it, as well, Nate?
Yes, it is. So the owner actually currently bought this from us a couple of years back, remodelled it, and it's now back with us. So yes, done a lot of work to it. So.
Super stuff. But mainly in today's episode is kind of looking at lettings in 2026. And as we know, Nath, there's a hell of a lot coming up in May with the changes with the Renters' Right Act that's coming in. So I thought, you know what, let's get you down, well, not sat down, but stand up with me around the table, and we'll have a little chat about it. But before we get stuck in, Nath, a little bit about yourself. How did you come to get involved in property?
I kind of just landed in it, if I'm honest. So it was back in COVID times. I joined a little franchise business, rookie to the industry, learnt the ropes, and very, very quickly kind of chucked in the deep end in a very busy market.
Yeah.
So learnt very quickly, and then from there stemmed and joined you guys shortly after, and just learnt and grew since. So yeah, kind of just landed into it.
It was very much of a. I remember having a chat with you when you first joined. You had only been in the industry for about 18 months, 2 years really.
Yeah.
And when we had a chat about everything that you were getting involved in, I was like, crikey, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're literally going from the front end, which was kind of just negotiating in terms of just finding applicants for stuff, but then you were also getting yourself involved in property management, as well as kind of tenancy management and also checkouts and all those kind of things. So it was a jump into it, wasn't it? But I think you grew a lot quicker because of the position you were put in a way.
I think getting to know each side of the business and even like the back end, what goes on behind the scenes, like it helps you learn. And I'm always better at learning while doing something. So for me, it was great.
Yeah, not very so busy. Much looking at the computer trying to absorb. It's kind of working on actually. In practice.
Exactly.
You learn quicker. Absolutely. But was there any reason, or I suppose we're talking about naturally falling into something here, but was there a point where you went, you know what, I like the letting side more than the sales side, or kind of, I know you've still got an interest in the sales side, but you really have focused your mindset on the letting side, haven't you?
I mean, not really driven into it as such. I enjoy actually speaking about the legislation to people and educating the people on what they might not know. I find that side of things quite fun. It leans into some good conversations and stuff like that. So I do enjoy that aspect as much as people hate it. But
so the Renters' Right Act, that has been not a welcome change, because I don't think it's a welcome change for anyone, but you've enjoyed getting your teeth in and learning about it as we're coming in. It's been on the
agenda for a year and a bit, isn't it? So it's been a topic for conversation for so long. We sound probably a bit like a broken record on covering the bases at the minute, but it's been enjoyable, and seeing some of the landlords' reactions to things has been quite fun.
So before we get too deep into the Renters' Right Act, what are you seeing actually kind of on a day-to-day basis in the lettings market at the moment?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a weird market at current. Like it's spiked a little bit and it's now kind of dropped off a touch. We are noticing landlords are exiting the market, which is not helping kind of stock levels, I would say. But across the board, I think it has been relatively quiet. Obviously, we've just had Easter, so it's been a 2-week break.
What, so kind of on an applicant basis, you're saying it's not as busy as it has been?
Not as busy as it has been.
Okay.
Which I am shocked at. But I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I was chatting to Jules last week, and I was like, 12 months ago, I would have probably had 50 calls for something, and suddenly I've got, I don't know, 20, 30, which still is a lot. You'll still let it
20 times over.
It's still quieter than what it has been previously.
Do you think that the rents are, because every time I'm on the webinar, I always do this bit about the market, and I say, I don't think it continue kind of 8% increases, 6% increases every year. Do you think we might have seen it soften slightly, or more of like an affordability issue in terms of costs of everything? You know, petrol at the moment is flying up, cost of living is going up, and actually people are maybe not being able to actually warrant that 1,600. You know, this is £3,000 a calendar month. You've got to have you've got to have a big income to warrant that kind of expenditure. Definitely. On the rent front.
Yeah. I think people are watching their expenditure at the minute, which may be the reason behind people not moving out, because obviously that comes with a lot of expense on removals and stuff like that. Yeah. I am noticing that rents aren't jumping as high from last year. So some of the stuff that I let last year, they're coming around for their renewals. And I'm looking at kind of comparisons on the market. They're not really jumping too much. Yes, probably things that are still tenanted from pre-COVID, they are still warranting the increases. But things let recently, they're there or
kind of softening a little bit then on that side. So, as a landlord, have you noticed? You were saying that you've seen some people or some landlords exiting the market. Yep. Would you say kind of the objectives of the landlord has changed, or do you think that's just that some of our clients are of an age where they actually want the cash out of it and go and explore the world? Or can you see that landlords in general objectives have changed a bit?
Most of the conversations I have, not every one of them, but landlords that are exiting the market want their little nest egg now just to retire. They want to go and enjoy the fruits of their labour and not get bogged down in compliance and tenancy management and tenants having their niggly issues that they do.
So it's kind of more as that is their retirement fund coming in, and that's what they're actually going to use the money that's in there to go and do something else, really. Because I think that when we've had a sit down with a number of landlords, that once you actually break it down and you go, right, there's the capital growth, and then you've got the capital gains to pay on that amount, then you've got that XYZ. There's not actually, if you're going to take that money out and put it into another investment, then often there's not much point in doing that. No. But for some landlords, you know, they've had them for 20, 30 years, then they want to go and enjoy themselves a little bit.
It's done what it's needed to do. There was one recently where they've had it tenanted for 20 years to the same tenant. They've sold that now to that tenant, and it's proved quite well and done quite well for them. So
I bet that tenant probably wished they had bought it 20 years ago, because they would have they would have paid the mortgage off by now. But positions and people change, which is the beauty of renting, is that people can move about the country fairly easily without having to tie up much money at all, really. So there's always going to be need for renting in the UK. But you did say that the levels have dropped a little bit, but still 20 phone calls or 20 potential applicants for each one. That still sounds like demand levels are fairly high.
Yeah, they're still fairly high. Obviously, we know age of first-time buyers is going up year on year, so people do get stuck in that their first place is going to be a rental, and you get young families that move into rental because they're moving out of parents and stuff like that, and then they will rent for a few years and then go on to buy. So you still have got that level of market there. So
and stock,
we've had a lot come on the market. It's all gone. We've now got this one and a couple of others bubbling. So stock levels are good. I'd like them to be a bit better, but
I think it's more proactive stock levels, though, especially with yourself, Nath, isn't it? I don't think you're not sitting back and going, I'll wait for a landlord or a tenant to move out. You're kind of actively going out there and finding more landlords that are wanting to find tenants. I think that as a market, I think there is a lack of stock, but for you personally, which is great, I think you're quite good at finding that stock.
Yeah, I looked at the stats this
those
morning. Our percentage of market share in the last 12 months is actually quite good. So with that said, it's against competitors, our stock levels are good.
And tenants, if they are wanting to find something, what would you say is the best way that a tenant can kind of secure a property? Because it's still 20 to 1 and something like that. What's their best?
Yeah, you have to be quick. So obviously you have your alerts on when something's listed, get calling, get speaking to agents. There's quite often they can source you something without having to go to the market. It's about putting your case forward in the best light possible. Going out to viewings and meeting the agent, building that rapport is good. I know it takes time out of your day, but to potentially find a nice house that you want to move into, it's well worth it.
And it's not about being pushy, is it? I think that sometimes if an applicant comes along and they come across too pushy, actually it can be a negative for those guys.
Yeah.
It's being friendly and being open and honest, really, isn't it? Because I know that always whenever we talk about that property's coming, you go, I know that Steve and Kate's going to love that. That'll be perfect for them. So it's just being in the agent's mind. at the right time, really.
The last 2 months we've done four deals that haven't even had to go to market. So 4 move-ins, 4 happy tenants, 4 happy clients.
So that certainly is something for tenants listening to this is don't just trust the stats on Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, those kind of things. Actually do some graft in a way and go and speak to agents and say, look, we're looking for this. Can you let us know as and when something comes available? Because of all too many people think that everything is Rightmove and on everything like that, don't they, really, Nathan?
If you're working with a good agent, they'll always know their applicants and what they're looking for, and they'll try and get you in there before having to go to market.
So that's tenants. That's what smart tenants are doing. What about smart landlords? What are the best kind of landlords doing right now, in your opinion, Nate?
They are listening to what their agent says. So if I get called out to something, and I work with tenants and applicants day in, day out, so I know what people are looking for. If I go out for something and I go, look, this could really be done this year round, i.e. maybe a tidy up of a kitchen or bathroom, maybe not completely new, but maybe repurposing kitchen cupboards and stuff like that. It's really listening to the agent to get the most out of their rental yields and stuff like that.
It's often, if you spend a little bit on the property, you end up with a far better tenant at the end of the day. Whereas, if you have a fairly poor condition property, then that's going to mainly get you your poor kind of tenants, isn't it, really? Whereas something that's nice and smart and well looked after, you get a higher caliber of tenant, and it gives us more choice to find that best tenant for yourself. On the improvements, kind of compliance, rent reviews, are you seeing kind of landlords bury their heads in the sand a little bit with this, or kind of smart landlords must be looking at doing that?
The smart ones know they're taking it all on board. They're reading the blogs that come out weekly. I've sent plenty of links out to them to reread when I'm chatting through, and I didn't quite know that. I'll send you a blog, have a read of it, let me know if you've got any questions. So they are tuning into it. Obviously you get the some that are like, no, do you know what? I don't care. It will take it as it comes. But if that's their setup, then that's their setup. I'll be here when they need to help in the future.
And I suppose for that, if someone or if a landlord isn't being as smart at the moment, then your days are numbered. This, I believe, is coming out on Thursday the 9th. By that time, you'll probably have 2.5-3 weeks to actually sort out your tenancy or serve any notices before the Renters' Right Act changes come in, which is on the 1st of May. I don't know if we want to go down the whole rabbit hole of the Renters' Right Act, but Nath, what are the major changes which are coming in?
Made changes, obviously no Section 21s, which is your no fault evictions, so you have to rely on grounds for possession. So landlords will still be able to get their properties back if they want to sell, reoccupy, have a bad tenant not paying rent, etc. So there are certain grounds you just won't be able to serve a 2-month.
I think that's a really important point to note, Nate, because there's a lot of scaremongering out there saying you won't be able to get your tenant out XYZ, but actually if you have a reasonable ground for needing that property back, landlords aren't just serving Section 21s willy-nilly at the moment. It's just, it has become the notice to serve because it kind of constitutes all different separate ones. Whereas this way you'll have to go, right, we need the property back because we're selling, we need the property back because we're moving back into it, or they're in rent arrears or such. Like I think there's about 30 plus grounds in which you can serve notice of it.
Stuff like that. Obviously, as long as you can back up and provide your evidence as well on the discretionary ones, especially by doing your routine visits. If you've got a bad tenant that is damaging the property, you will need to do those and make sure it's evidenced and logged that it is those that are
absolutely. So Section 21's gone. Talk to us about no fixed term tenancies.
Yes, so from the minute the tenant moves in, that tenancy will roll month to month effectively. It will just roll indefinitely until either party breaks that tenancy. So for a tenant, they could move in, they've paid their first month's rent, then they could give you 2 months notice. Probably not going to happen. Not many people like to move houses every 3 months.
No, and especially with the shortage, as you say, 20 applicants to one property, we're not going to see tenants doing that. I think there might be small pockets in areas of the UK that people might be being cheeky and try and live there for the summer period. But that's down to us and down to references to make sure that we are properly checking on those tenants to make sure they are long-standing and not just taking the Michael, so to speak, on that front.
We always try and get to know the applicants when we're showing them around, asking what their long term is like, and obviously where they work is quite important because if it's local, then you know they're probably going to be here a lot longer. But if something doesn't, if something flags internally, then you think, do you know what?
Nace has you've got your little radar on, and you soon know if you go, I'm not quite sure about this.
You get small little red flags and reservations. So it's just you'll get to know them when you're in the industry. But
I will just point, because there's also a lot of landlords that we've had that have said, right, well, I'm going to send out a new tenancy agreement, which is going to sign them up for another 24 months as of today. There's no point in doing that. It is literally any existing ASTs will convert into a periodic tenancy as of the 1st of May. So there's no point in doing that whatsoever, really. But moving back to change the Rent Right Act, what else are there? You've got pets in lets, obviously, which I think is maybe a bit more of a. I can't imagine it's going to become a massive item on that front.
No, I mean, plenty of tenants request a pet now anyway, and so there'll just be more onus on the landlord having a valid reason to say no. Effectively,
head leases and those kind of things. If you've got a leasehold flat, that will outweigh it, and also just reasonable parts to it, basically on that front. Any mistakes, Nath, that you're seeing landlords doing wrong in 2026?
They're still not serving their compliance documents, like your how to rent guides, your property certificates, as and when they're needed and to be done. I do plenty of renewals, and I say, look, you need to get XYZ done before you can increase the rent, and because you need to have everything in place to serve alongside your Section 13.
And this has been going on for years, hasn't it? It's just the regular compliance. I mean, everyone knows a gas safe certificate and those kind of things, but it's even there. It's amazing how many landlords they do the work, but then they don't serve it on the tenant in the prescribed format. And
they get their engineer to leave it on the kitchen side, but where would you be able to prove that? If your claim went through the courts and to the judge, would you be able to prove that you've served that certificate to the tenant?
So it's about making sure that their compliance, if they were to ever get themselves in a sticky situation, to make sure that the compliance is up to speed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Really, any other kind of mistakes, would you say?
I had a case recently, a very, very long-term tenant on a kind of private deal. They've approached us on the back of a webinar.
Oh yeah.
Saying they haven't lodged a deposit. I was like, that's a big no-no. I would recommend you return it.
Yeah.
But I would seek legal advice.
Mm-hmm.
They had all sorts in their deal where they would include bills and stuff like that, and just all sorts was wrong with it. And I went out and saw them, and they're trying to rectify it.
Yeah.
It's just the niggly bits that
Yeah.
isn't in everyday running.
And it is as simple as that. Kind of the deposit part is you cannot serve notice legitimately without having put that in a deposit kind of TDS or something along those lines, really, which is fine. Rent levels, we've kind of spoken a little bit on rent levels on that front, really.
Increased slightly over the last 12 months, but not dramatically. Not hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
If there was someone watching at home and they were thinking, right, I've got 250 grand to spend, what would you suggest would be the best kind of property to go out and purchase for you to find a tenant for?
Yeah, I'd say 1 and 2 beds. They tend to fly out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier, age of first-time buyers is going up, smaller families, so 1 or 2 beds tends to be the things that they look for.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a couple, having a second bedroom as a study. If it's a young family, obviously nursery kind of set up. So that's what I would go and get. And there's not that much difference between kind of 1 bed rent and 2 bed rent. Even 2 beds in and around our area, probably 1250 to 1300. Wow. Even 3 beds are probably 1350 to 15. Yeah. So there's not too much difference.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats and kind of the 1 beds and even the studios, those kind of things are catching up with the top end. The top end isn't as high as if you look at here. What is it? £3,000 a month here, and it's on the market for 775,000 per for the property. If you were to compare 775 for £3,000, whereas you could get two properties for 500,000, and that would be getting £3,000 in. Yeah. So yeah, if you had money to spend, you're better off buying on the smaller end. Keep towards the freehold stuff if you can.
Yeah, I would.
Just for service charge, ground rents, those kind of things.
Anything that starts to eat into your rental yield, I would probably steer clear. Mm-hmm. And I have noticed that they are a little bit slower as well if you ever did want to sell them onwards and stuff like that. So.
Central City though, because you're going to be, say if you're in the middle of Chelmsford, Bishop Stortford or something like that, right in the middle, you're going to struggle to find a freehold property there. Are we seeing rents increase by enough in those kind of locations to justify a service charge compared to, say, something in Kelvedon or Coggeshall, which maybe you could buy for the same kind of price?
It really depends on the block, I'd say, because obviously service charges fluctuate so much if it's got lifts, pools, whatever, large grounds. If you can make the maths work by taken into the service charge, then yes, it would work.
And I suppose if anyone is interested in buying something and wants some advice on rents or those kind of things, then Nathan's always happy to take a look at something. Ping him across the link from our website or wherever, and he'll have a look at it and go, yeah, I think you'll be able to achieve that kind of rent for that. But have you thought about this? Jules has got this on the market at the moment. That actually might return a better amount than that.
Exactly.
Going back to tenants, Nath, tenants' expectations, have they changed?
No, they still expect immaculate condition of property for the rent they're paying, which in some respect is fair. But they have got to understand that it is rental stock. It's not a brand spanking new build, realistically. They are probably going to have teething issues, but with the levels of rent they're paying, they do expect the property to be in tip-top condition. They're quite kind of picky, and they will kind of say, oh, well, this is a bit could need doing. But that's then I feed that back, and if the owner is willing to do that, then that's a conversation starter, isn't it? So.
And I suppose further down the line, once they take a property, I think it's great that, you know, our property management department try and act as quick as possible. Obviously, it's down to the landlords most of the time to okay works being done, but because tenants are paying that bit more, they do expect a level of service for things being fixed quicker and that kind of thing, I'd say.
And we do have a really good kind of back end property management team that are
Nathan's
proactive.
not doing it anymore. Yeah,
I'm not doing it anymore. No. Gemma, my colleague, she looks after my area. She's brilliant.
You've got a really good relationship with yourself and her, and then the landlord. So it's a nice small network from your office, isn't it? Really, you're not getting passed from pillar to post on that front, which is great.
One thing I always say when I'm out doing viewings is like, you will be looked after once you're with us. It's not something we just let you move in and then you won't hear from us.
Disappear off.
We will be there to on hand if you need us. So it's
a property. Is there anything that a tenant now would consider to be kind of a standard? Is there something like, a hob and oven? Well, that obviously is, but fridge, freezers, like cooker taps, those kind of. Is there anything that is kind of seen as a standard or like a must-have?
I would say the standard is something to cook with. Appliances other than that, probably not. Like your integrated fridge, freezers and stuff like that, probably not, because the onus then becomes the landlords to fix, repair, replace.
Yeah.
So a lot of landlords just tend to give them something to cook with. They can source their own.
And would you say that's often the best method? Because I know that if you've got a washing machine or a dryer, something like that, and perhaps it's not being serviced as well as you would if you owned it yourself, the liabilities fall upon yourself to look after it.
Yeah, my advice is to leave as little as you can in your rental. It takes a little bit less off your shoulders in terms of cost and expenditure.
And would you say that tenants wouldn't rent somewhere because it hasn't got a washing machine?
No, I mean, I've had a rare case if money is really tight, but look, most people can get decent things off places like Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that.
There's always stuff on there. Yeah.
There's always stuff that crops up locally that they can go and grab and use and make decent life out of it.
That is an important note to put, because I know that a lot of landlords, old school landlords, always used to put on the contract no repairing obligations for these appliances, but that doesn't quite cut the mustard anymore.
No, if it's here on the inventory, it's yours to look after.
It's yours to look after, absolutely. But anything else that, if say someone has got a property that they're struggling to shift, is there anything that really does, without changing the material of the property, i.e. creating a parking space if it's got no parking, is there anything that you can kind of add to it to give it that bit of...
You want to make sure it's targeting the right people, as like in your write-ups you can say give it the best flow, and you describe each room. You try and have to visually guide people through it. So as long, I see some write-ups that are literally just like 2 sentences and like doesn't give you any justice of the property at all. That's what I would say. I'd make sure your agent is speaking to the applicant database and stuff like that. As I say, there are deals there to be done that don't need to be marketed.
And I suppose it is about making it as clean and tidy as it can be. As you said at the start, liquor paint does go a long way. And if a property isn't shifting, then it will be highly likely that it will kind of be price related. Really, is the rent. I know rents have gone up, but you've still got to be
competitive
realistic and
realistic with the other comparables on the market. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Nice. Looking ahead, where do you see the market, or where do you see the world of lettings in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I did just check my crystal ball. I mean, it's a hard one to predict. Obviously, you've got a big change on the horizon. We don't really know what that's going to do to the market, whether that is going to mean the rental stock diminishes quite a lot, which then drives the demand and supply even further down and grows rent potentially and works the flip side of what they want it to be doing. But that can only mean one thing. If there is less stock and demand levels are still there,
it's going to push
that rent is going to go up.
So
who knows?
You think? I think that if that there are going to be landlords that are looking at selling, and I think that there might be some deals to be done in terms of a landlord wanting to sell, a landlord wanting to buy, and actually some kind of negotiations there for them not to have to go through the rigmarole of moving a tenant out. I have a feeling there's going to be some good investments in the market for savvy buyers, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And yeah, landlords, as long as the price is right and the maths make sense, they're going to invest because that's their business. So if they can buy something with a tenant already making a good yield from a landlord that's exiting the market, what's not to love about that?
So this is a bit of a quirky, well, it's not, it's a hard. Who do you think benefits the most from the Renters' Right Act? Do you think it is actually tenants that are benefiting the most? Or in the long run, do you think it actually benefits the landlords?
I would say there are more benefits to a tenant. But even speaking to tenants and trying to educate them on my viewings, a lot of the response has been like, well, actually, we really like fixed term tenancies because it gives us security of tenure. They like signing 2-3 year tenancy agreements. So to then not have one, it's a tough education process to say, no, look, this just rolls indefinitely. Yes, the landlord is committing to 12 months because they can't serve notice until month 8. But
that landlord could suddenly the next day go, oh, I need to sell. And actually, you can almost be as a tenant, being slightly on limbo, can't you? Kind of going, oh, I'm not quite sure how long I am here because of it. There is factors outside of their control now.
At least if they know they've got a fixed term from, say, June 26 to June 27, they know they've got until June 27.
Absolutely. So, on a short term, do you feel like it benefits talking about that there? That doesn't benefit the tenants at all, does it? Really?
No. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides, and ultimately, look, I understand where it comes from, trying to drive the kind of landlords that do neglect their tenants into being compliant. But that is a very, very small portion of the market anyway. So
it's not our landlords. Our landlords aren't out there to make life bad for a tenant.
No, I've never heard of a landlord rocking up to a tenant's door with a bat and get out of my house. It just doesn't happen. You hear about the bits of the soft compliance on the document side of things that they don't know about, but they're not bad landlords. It doesn't make them bad people. It just means they're not educated.
And I think that there could be some landlords that get caught up in some easy picking, so to speak, because they haven't done certain small things. And with the local councils now kind of taking control of these fines and those kind of things, £7,000 fine for the start, there might be a few landlords that do fall short of that. So it's now is even more of a time, especially with rents going up, we can manage a property and look after it, make sure it's all 100% fully compliant, and you still end up with the same amount in your pocket at the end of the day, really.
Exactly. It's all about your portfolio reviews, making sure the rents are set correctly. Then, if you're self-managing and all of your rents suddenly go up by 50, 100 quid, we effectively pay for ourselves.
Indeed. One key mistake for a landlord to avoid at the moment?
Overpricing. It comes down to that. If you overprice it, because most tenants' notice is a month currently, if you overprice it and it sits on the market for 2-3 weeks, and now suddenly that tenant's leaving, you might not find another tenant for a month. You're doing yourself out of a month of rent, which if you price it right, you'll have a tenant in there lined up and you won't be losing money effectively.
People often think about the big headline figure, but then if they have 2 months void period, then that's a lot of £200 less every month to make up, isn't it, for those 2 months, really? So overpricing. I didn't think you were going to say that one, Nath, but that's come out.
I was going to say.
I have no idea. I don't know.
You back on the spot.
But any final kind of takeaways for listeners to take out of this key nuggets?
I would say, because the change is nearly here, go through your documents, speak to an agent, come and talk to us, make sure everything is ready for when the change happens. Because you don't want to fall foul. They are big fines. Make sure it's ready now.
Yeah, prepare early, basically.
Yeah.
It's not early now. It's prepare before the changes come in. And if it is of interest, guys, then we will message us, and we'll be able to send you our most recent webinar in which me and Paul went through the fat of the Renters' Right Act, and also some changes which are happening later in 2026. And we'll also be having another one in the next couple of months. But Nath, it's been great. Thanks for your insights on today. And if you're a landlord in the area and would like to chew Nathan's ear off about something, then I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. But as always, please subscribe to the podcast on whatever format you're listening to it on, Spotify, YouTube, and follow us on our socials. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care.